Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Perform Happy Podcast. My guest today is somebody who I'm really, really excited to dive into her mind because she's not only a former gymnast, I call her a scary sport athlete because she, like many of us, is attracted to these sports that are kind of dangerous a bit, but helps us to learn how to manage our minds. And she's someone I have been hunting down for literally more than 4 years to try to get on the complete performance coaching team. Meet the newest member of our team, Coach Sam Buxbaum. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So when I met her, just a little background, I was looking for a coach on the team. I found her, I fell in love, and I was like, "You're in." Yes. And she's like, "Oh, change of plans. I can't." And so then resurfaced a few years later. And I'm so thrilled to have her working with groups and Perform Happy, working one-on-one with athletes. But that aside, I want to, like I said, dive into your brain. And
Yeah.
could you give us a little background on just your sport history as a starting point?
Yeah, definitely. The beginning of my sport history journey started in the playground, as it does for a lot of us, I think, as gymnasts. My mom taught me everything I knew at the time until she had nothing more to teach me. And the front yard was where I learned side aerial, was where I learned maybe not anything backwards moving, but that was my first gym. And the jungle gym down the street was where I got my first rips on my hands, which I remember still to this day so fondly, like walking back from the playground, staring at the palms of my like bloody ripped hands, being like, this is awesome. Like, I want to do more of this. But after my mom taught me everything that she could, I transitioned to competitive gymnastics, artistic gymnastics. And it was interesting because at the time, well, it's probably not that much different than to now, but I was 10. And to join a team at 10 is very old for the first time. So I was rejected by team after team after team because I was too old. They're like, she's good, she could do it, but she's too old. So it took Silver Stars Gymnastics in Silver Spring, Maryland, to take a chance on me, and there started my competitive gymnastics obsession and love. And I was one of the few gymnasts that actually skips a level, which is psychologically very challenging for inner reasons, but also interpersonal reasons. And it was tough as the oldest at level 4, obviously coming in 10, 11, and then skipping a level. And there's the interesting team dynamics and parental dynamics, even that unfold with that competitiveness and comparison. But then I realized I was not performing the way I was practicing, and I was holding myself back, and started to see a sports psychologist. I think it was around sophomore or junior year of high school. And she gave me some tools and allowed me to have a space that normalized all of my fears and my desires and love for the sport of gymnastics. And to this day, it was sort of in the first couple of sessions with her, I was like, I want to do that. I want to do this. This is it. I'm done. I don't need to search anymore for my professional trajectory. But flash forward a few years, I burned out of gymnastics, but sort of like a lot of gymnasts, we keep going until there's sort of an easy end point. So that's what I did through high school. And then I transitioned to springboard diving at Colorado College, where I also studied psychology, and more or less quickly learned that sport I could transfer a lot of my skills to, but jumping into cold water consistently in the dead of winter in Colorado really wasn't my thing. So I did that for 3 years, and come my senior year, I was like, I need to get to know myself outside of an organized sport. So I didn't do any organized athletics my senior year of college, and it was one of the best decisions that I think I've ever made, period, in my life. In that opening up of everything, it just allowed me to develop myself in other ways, and get to kind of know and relearn how to love myself in many ways.
Yeah, which is a huge and lifelong task.
Yeah.
But But beautiful that you were able to do it then, because I know in my experience, it took a lot more crashing and burning before I could get to that place, which is a lot of, I think, why we're attracted to this type of work is
Sure.
if you can, mentor a young person to find themselves independent of sport,
Hmm.
it just gives so much freedom. So
Yeah.
so then, okay, so you go through, you have this year of self-love. What I
Mhm.
mean, for anyone out there who's like, "Ooh, I need to love myself." Do you have any
Yeah.
any kind of bullet points on what that journey was for you and what some of the important realizations were?
Yeah, well, I guess, in complete transparency, like many gymnasts, like many women, I struggled with body image. I struggled with enough eating and healthy, nourishing eating. And so, come my senior year, it was sort of like this light bulb switched off or on, rather, when I turned 21 in August before the beginning of my senior year. And I was like, we can go down that path forever, but like, there's no happiness down there. So, what does it look like to actually give my body the fuel it needs and to look at myself in the mirror with the care I need and deserve? So, this was like the beginning of the lifelong female journey of recalibrating our relationship with our body outside of conscious and subconscious societal norms and familial norms. There was kind of an eating disordered culture within my family. So to try and parse out what's true for me and what I learned and have the compassion for myself that what I was experiencing was understandable given my upbringing in and out of the sport of gymnastics was what that year of self-love looked like. And it was no, in retrospect, coincidence that that was also the year that I had my first significant relationship. So it was this reminder of, okay, the moment you start to give yourself what you need, you will have the ability to expand outwards and to connect with people you love.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the families we work with are these sort of type A,
Mhm.
grandma like really cared about looking good and mom cares about looking good. And
Yeah.
then here comes a 12-year-old who's like, I guess we got to look good. And yeah, I mean, I relate to that so much.
Yeah.
And to start to dismantle that can almost feel like terrifying
Oh, yeah.
because there's this question mark of, well, if I'm not like trying to impress people or trying to get outside validation or then who am I and am I
Yeah.
good enough? And so I think every young female at some point kind of hits that point.
Mhm.
And thank goodness, having great mentors, it's like it makes that a lot easier to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
Were there any people who made that process more palatable for you?
Oh, yeah. You mentioned grandma. I think it was a very pivotal time in college, my senior year, where she was someone that was very hyper focused on aesthetics
Mm.
and who I very subconsciously learned from. And it was through what she did wrong that inspired me to reach out and communicate my authentic self to her, saying, I can't really take these comments on my body anymore. Like if you keep up with this, I can't have you in my life. Right. So this real shift of, okay, I need to be my own advocate. And she helped me do that, right? In kind of a circuitous way, in a counterintuitive way. She helped me do that alongside of a team of both sports psychologists and general counseling therapists, and my parents who were willing to apologize for things that really weren't okay in our food oriented upbringing,
Mm.
and to have that gift of an apology, of a specific apology, then opened the door to those relationships individually between me and my mother and me and my father to actually heal. And we are, not islands. We're all connected.
Mhm.
And I think all of that was just a part of my healing journey.
Yeah. Well, and as a daughter and a mother, that hits home because I think the most important thing parents can do is apologize.
Mhm.
That is the strength I have with my kids is that I will freak out. I will freak out. I freak out once a week, if not once a day, on like, you need to be doing things differently. And then just having that pause in between my reaction and going, ah,
Yeah.
sorry, buddy. okay, can we redo
Yeah.
that? And then they come to me and go, hey, sorry that I did that. And so to have these, like a 9-year-old with some emotional intelligence because I have the ability to apologize, I think back to my childhood and go, what if?
Yeah.
What if,
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
you even
What if
imagine
they, yeah.
that? And today I think it's a lot more normalized, but for sport parents out there who are like, oops, yeah, I was like making body comments and oh, yeah, I was like really demanding perfection. And now I realize that that's not actually going to help set them up for success.
Yeah.
It's okay to actually go back in and go, hey, how did that make you feel? I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
How can I show up better for you? I
Yeah.
mean, that's big stuff. Okay, now let's get into the scary sports. So,
Yeah.
so you're a gymnast, you're a diver, and now you are getting into rock climbing,
Yeah.
which is so cool. Now, so I have my little bit itty bitty rock climbing story from I was just in Sedona, and my kids
Mm.
are like, I want to climb that, and I was like, okay. So we pull up to this, I think it's called Bell Rock, and my little 9-year-old just starts going up. And then my mama heart is like, oh, okay, she's still climbing. Oh, I don't like, I can't keep her safe. I don't
Yeah.
know what's going on. And so then my sports psychology mine is like, well, we're not going to make a big deal out of this and we're just going to let her stay present.
Hmm.
But I was having this battle and I was like, oh, I can't wait to talk to Sam about this because I mean, when you're going up those rocks, you are in danger potentially if you make a misstep, if and as a parent watching your kid do a scary thing, it's like, how do you best support? So
Yeah.
can you give me a little bit of like, how can a parent support a kid in that situation? But then also what's important for an athlete who's doing something that is potentially dangerous, like to stay safe, when they're
Yeah.
taking those calculated risks.
Yeah. I mean, I think the last part of what you just mentioned is what it's all about, right? It is calculated. And I don't know if your daughter was bouldering or was she attached to a harness or
No, she was just going up.
she was going up. Yeah.
She was just wanting to go higher and higher and higher on this rock that was getting steeper and steeper and steeper.
Yeah.
And she just was like, I was like, oh my gosh, are you part mountain goat? What is happening? I'd never
Mm-hmm.
seen her do anything like this before.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to be like, get it, girl. Okay. But then
Yeah.
that, like, of course, the mom string, and I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, hold on. We need to like, I don't have
Yeah.
control over this situation. So this is making me
Right.
scared.
Right. And I think, just to notice, okay, well, it's my reaction to freak out when I don't have control, but actually my daughter has control. Like I can see the control in her hands and in her feet. And to trust that she has the agency over her body and that you're, maybe right there ready to catch her if she falls or does misstep, right? Like in bouldering, you're kind of describing a typical bouldering situation where when doing either higher or newer boulders, which is the kind of climbing that's usually tops out relatively low, but you're unharnessed, you have spotters, just like you would in gymnastics,
Yeah.
right? And it's not like the coach that would catch you kind of completely and fully in gymnastics, perhaps, but it's someone on the ground to soften the fall and just to soften it enough so that no significant injuries happen. Um, there is a calculation and a calculated risk to all of climbing, but there's also a calculated risk you need to take and decide to take if you don't engage in sports that push you, right?
Mhm.
Like when you do stay in your comfort zone, what's more dangerous, that or pushing yourself out? Arguably the former, right?
Mhm.
Arguably staying within that zone of comfort where you're not going to learn anything about what your mind feels like when you're scared. You're not going to know anything about what your body feels like when you're scared. What it takes for you to say no and what it takes for you to say, actually, right, in our own language, I'm at a 7. I'm going to try it. And those risks are risks, of course, just like you said, but really just realizing, especially as a parent, like, oh, that is a separate entity for me. I made that, but she's doing her thing.
And I just couldn't help but connect it with, what we do of
Hmm.
parents out there, they watch their kids doing these things and they're scared. The kids are scared. So of course the
Right.
parent's going to be like, oh gosh, should I be scared? Is this okay? Is this a
Hmm.
good idea? But then, at the same time, you really like, I'm the kind of parent who I'm like, if you want to climb up that tree, you got to be able to get yourself down. But I'm going to let
Yeah.
you kind of learn from that experience. I want you to like, yes, climb it, but then that part of me that's like, ooh, at what point do I just go, nope, you're done. Get down, get out of the tree. Come on, off the rock. Let's go. You're done with your
Yeah.
sport. This is too much. I can't personally handle it. And I
Yeah.
was just
Hmm.
really kind of relating, I think, to a lot of parents who are like, this has become too much for me. So we can't do
Hmm.
this anymore. Whereas,
Yeah.
like you said, this child is their own entity that has fallen in love with something scary.
Yeah.
So, how to balance that from the parental perspective, I think is tricky,
Yeah.
and I'm curious what you think about that. Like, what's your advice?
Well, just like we all have like athletes, right? We work with athletes on their persona, right? It's like who I am when I'm pushing myself on the rock wall is a different persona than who I am when I'm working with athletes one-on-one or even as a gymnast, right? And then we can also put on these different hats or different masks of our personas as a parent, right? It's like, okay, now I'm a fearless gymnast mom parent, or now I'm their safe, home base as we talk on the car ride home and I let them cry about someone that hurt their feelings or a skill that they just can't get or they're scared of. Right. So to be able to code switch in ourselves as parents, I think is just as important as the teaching that we do for our kids for them to code switch
Mm.
and for
Yeah.
them to put on the, metaphorical jersey of now I'm a fearless soccer player. Like, and that's just who I am, right? That's
Mhm.
the show I'm going to perform and figure out, oh, who is this side of myself that comes out as I put that persona on? And to get intimate with all these different personas we have is, I think, a part of just a beautiful life.
Yeah. Well, and also part of peak performance. I mean, when
Yeah.
athletes have the ability to switch into their peak performer,
Hmm.
it's amazing what can happen
Yeah.
because, that I think that persona, honestly, of people who are stuck in fear, that's real. Like for me, it was sort of not similar, but not similar to you. I was too old. I was
Hmm.
too scared. And so all of my thoughts matched that persona. All of my emotions matched that. All of my behaviors matched that. So it was
Hmm.
really this thing inside me that was like, okay, when I walk up to a balance beam, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And I really I could really get in, but then there's been times in my life where I'm so fearless and I'm
Hmm.
so bold. And so
Hmm.
I think we kind of can lock into certain personas around like, okay, I'm the mom that is so helpful, or
Hmm.
I'm the athlete that's fearless, or I'm the athlete that can't do
Hmm.
it, or I'm
Hmm.
the stupid person in math, or
Right.
whatever it is. And I think just to be able to like identify that that is actually just a set of habits, a
Hmm.
set of mental, physical, emotional habits that have been created. And it's like, once you identify and go, oh, this isn't working anymore. Like for the mom out there who's like, okay, this me being a yelling person
Yeah.
persona isn't working anymore,
Hmm.
or this me being a scared person isn't working anymore.
Yeah.
What's your take on, is it possible for people to then find a new persona? Like, could I
Yeah.
have a new beam persona? Could I have a new parent persona that I just step into that's more effective?
Yeah. I mean, what comes to mind is this like a mindful perspective on our self-talk, right? And everything that you were mentioning is I am, I am, I am, I am. How how cemented is that? It's very cemented, right? It's like these identities. I am a fearless gymnast. I am a supportive mother. I am a fearful gymnast, right? I am someone who doesn't like bars, right? As opposed to just adding one word, I'm feeling.
Mm.
I'm feeling X, I'm feeling Y, I'm feeling nervous, I'm feeling upset. And we can then we can zoom out, get a different perspective on how we are feeling and realizing, oh, there's this observer part of myself, right? This is kind of the zen of gymnastics and managing fear because we always can step into the observer. We can always notice, oh, just a part of me is feeling nervous. Just a part of me is feeling worried. A part of me is feeling confident, right? We don't need to do this just with negative emotions. It's, a part of me is feeling confident, but then, yeah, there's another part of me that's a little bit aware of the risk, right? And to just shift into this fluid way of thinking of how we're feeling so that we get less rigid with all the personas we're putting on and putting off, right? Can feel more integrated. We have multiple selves, all of us, multiple selves, multiple roles, multiple selves that show up in each role. It just kind of gets bigger and bigger. There's a whole family up there. And so to keep noticing, up, I'm feeling, I don't need to act on that feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, just thinking about myself standing on that rock, there was the part of me that was proud.
Mm-hmm.
There was the part of me that was curious. There was the part of me that was terrified. And then there was part of me that was like, people are looking at me in this situation and they're scared about her. And now I'm like, oh, am I doing this wrong?
Yeah.
Like, and so, yeah, in every situation, there's always multiple things going on.
Yeah.
And I mean, girlfriend's safe. She's proud of herself. Like it was a
Yeah.
success. It's okay. And I got her to come down because I was like, you're freaking me out. That's high enough. But yeah, like, and then we can get her a coach and some spotters if that's something that she
Right.
wants to keep
Right.
learning. But that's so, yeah, it's so true. In every situation that seems concrete, there's multiple things going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like that girl standing up on the beam, she wants it. She's motivated. She's scared. She's worried what people are thinking about her. I mean, there's so many things going on.
Yeah.
So what do you recommend to get the right persona driving the ship when she gets up on that beam?
Yeah. Well, I think I like to call it the ABC framework, right? So I'll kind of walk us through it and then give us an example. So A is for accept, right? We can't really move forward unless we find a place of acceptance with what we're feeling. B is the action point. It's but I will. But I will do X. And that's usually it's most effective to think of a verb involved. C is your value. It's your reason why. It's because I value X. So if the nervous gymnast is about to get up on beam and perform her first beam routine for level 7, right? And she's doing the first series, her back walk over back handspring that she's ever competed. And she's only done even, I don't know, 30 in her life. So there's the part of, okay, I accept I'm feeling anxious and riled up, and it's understandable. I'm feeling anxious and nervous for this, right? This is not a natural thing I was necessarily evolutionarily made for, right? This is a contrived sport, but I will focus on extending through my shoulders. I'll focus on looking at the end of the beam. I'll focus on, a color. A lot of gymnasts are really like right-brained in that they think of colors when they think of different emotions, whether it's like anger being red or blue being peaceful and calm, right? But I'll focus on blue because I value pushing myself, because I value feeling beautiful on the beam, because I value whatever it is that is the why behind that gymnast pushing themselves in that way. Right. But that's kind of the soil that it's all growing from is their value system. So I usually work through the ABCs with a lot of my clients because it teaches the mindfulness aspect, A, accept, B, the action point, and C, the reminder of why we're here doing this at all, pushing ourselves.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, that's so simple and so great because that there are those moments where I think every athlete has had it where they're able to do the thing
Mm-hmm.
and it feels incredible. And there's this leap of faith that has to happen in order to get them from unsure to at least trying.
Mm-hmm.
And that like having something concrete to focus on, like what am I going to do with my hands? What am I going to do with my body? I think of it like taking the elevator from your head down into your body.
Yeah.
And you get out of that, like, what if, and you're like, no, just let's feel my feet and let's feel what my
Mm-hmm.
legs are about to do. And let's look
Mm-hmm.
where my hands are going to hit. And then why would I be
Yeah.
willing to get out of my comfort zone in this way right now?
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I mean, you need that, right? Like people ask, oh, should we, not repeat, or should we repeat a level to take the pressure off, or should she stay in this level? If you kind of see as a parent,
Mm-hmm.
your kid is right on the verge of, is it going to be too much pressure to try to get this skill for this level?
Mm-hmm.
Or should we just back off? And I've seen both ways work where, the pressure's off and now so is that desire to
Yeah.
do it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like you kind of have to find that balance of
Yeah.
And I say, well, it's got to be the kid's choice,
Yeah.
really. It has to be their
Yeah.
choice and think of it from a place of, well, what's going to make them feel confident?
Right.
And so if staying back a level and all their friends go up is not going to make them feel confident, don't. But also if they're going to be
Right.
underdog who's struggling all season, don't. That
Yeah.
it's tricky. Do you have thoughts on kind of that situation of what's the best way to support an athlete's why? Why are they doing this
Yeah.
from an outside
Well,
perspective?
yeah. I mean, from an outside perspective, it's easy to place good, bad, right, wrong on someone else's why,
Mhm.
right? Like our kids' why might be, well, I want to excel, or I want to push myself, or I want to have fun. And you as a parent are like, okay, I don't get it. I don't get it, but their value has to be their value, right? And we've had reasons for doing things in our own lives uh, as adults that someone else might not understand. And we don't need to, right? We don't need to understand why their value is their value. But I think as a parent, it's still imperative for us to ask the questions to make sure that they aren't just stopping at a value they think they should be at, right?
Mhm.
So whether it's kind of perfection or beauty or feeling strong or being strong in the gym, right? We can't let let our kids get stuck on simple answers, right?
Mhm.
Really like moving through kind of the 5 why sequence with them in gentle, non-judgmental ways, especially with the younger ones, to make sure that they're aware that their reason for doing something is authentic for them and also not set in stone.
Mhm. Yeah. Would you now I know the 5 whys, but for anyone who doesn't know what that
Yeah.
means, would you give a little background on how this could apply for a
Yeah,
parent?
sure. So 5 whys is pretty much what it sounds like, right? So we ask our kid or anyone, a friend, sort of their reason for doing something or why they think they're struggling with something. And then we ask again, well, why do you think that might be? Well, why do you think that might be? Right. And come the fifth why, usually we're at something pretty core. It's like, because I want to be wanted, because I need to be a part of a community, because there's the core values as
Mhm.
humans. And something that I even do with my clients now that I learned from my mother's parenting is the phrasing of the question, okay, I know you don't know why, or you don't know right now, but if you did, what would be the reason? Right? Because a lot of times when we ask younger kids, oh, why do you think that might be? Or what's the fear all about? They're like, I don't know. Right? Because they want to come up with something quick and they want to basically perform and give you an answer as fast as possible.
Mhm.
But the moment we give them the space to realize, oh, let me actually think about this for a second longer, right? If you did know, the sort of the magical wand question, if you did know, what could that be? And usually that incites a totally different way of thinking about it and an answer.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love to encourage people to just take a guess.
Hmm.
Like you might not know, but if you were to guess, what do you think it's
Yeah.
about? What are
Yeah.
some ideas or some clues? And now I will give the caveat of parents, this is not permission to go and do a therapy session in the car on the way home and ask 5 whys every day.
Right.
Don't do it. Don't do it. They will resent you. But it's something that also you can do on your own. You can even write
Mhm.
like, okay, why am I doing this? And why is that important to me? And why is that important to me? And why is that important to me? And you do that 5 times and you're going to get to that place of, well, because I just like it, because it
Yeah.
feels good, because it makes me happy, because, it's going to, again, take you
Yeah.
to that place of, okay, that's the actual reason why.
Yeah.
And so I've got a parent who I'm supporting her athlete and, there's this kind of mismatch between the kid's why and the coach's why, it seems like,
Mm,
where the kid, appears to the coach as not really caring or trying.
mm.
And I know, it's fear-based, but it's also that, this girl doesn't want to be an Olympian, right? Like who
Yeah.
many of us
Yeah.
actually don't. I never had that my sights set on
Yeah.
that. But my why was I just really liked gymnastics. I just
Yeah.
really liked to be in the gym. I like to try things. I liked to, just do my best. I like to work hard.
Yeah.
But yet there was this expectation that I needed to be moving through levels at a certain pace.
Mhm.
And that was my artificial why. I think as an athlete of, well, yeah, you have to stay with your little pack of people that
Yeah.
go through the levels year by year. And I think if I had been given permission to just love to be there, to just love to be a leader in my group, to love
Yeah.
to, do certain things, it would have been a much better experience than if I had this artificial why. If you have to be moving through the levels at this pace, you have
Hmm.
to be getting these skills at this pace, or you should pick a different sport. And I
Right.
hear coaches saying that to kids. They're like, maybe this isn't for you. Maybe you should go be a cheerleader. Maybe you should do something
Hmm.
else. And I heard that all the time. You're too tall. Maybe you should do volleyball. You should do
Yeah.
ballet. You should was
Yeah.
like, but I don't want to. I
Yeah.
just want to do this.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important for kids to learn their voice of like, well, I just want to do this right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's
And that kind of reminds me of I had as a as a 4'10" gymnast, I had the opposite coming at me. It was like, you should change gyms, go to a harder gym so that they can train you. I was like, no, no, I don't want to, that's not why I'm here. I'm here because it's fun. I'm here because I love the way it makes my body feel, just like we're talking about. I'm here because I am not pushed beyond my limits most of the time, right? So there's a real sticky point that we have in general in the sport of gymnastics where it's really hard to find a gym where you can push yourself as a 12, 13, 14, 15 to 18-year-old gymnast and not compete. Right. And the only place that I've heard of that actually offers training without competing is a gym. I think it's either in Virginia or Maryland, but Dominique Dawes made it. And I mean, if that was around when I was a gymnast, I would have been all there. Uh, Although, in retrospect, I do love what competing taught me and showed me about myself. But there, I hope, is a movement towards gyms that allow for training without competing.
Well, and that makes me think about how to set people up for flow. So I know you've,
Yeah.
done your fair share of personal and professional investigation into flow theory, and I am such a big fan of it. And one of the keys for anyone who's like, "What the heck are you talking about, Rebecca?" It's this idea of it's this guy's long name, the researcher who came up with it. She's
Mhm.
anyway, not going to try to butcher that.
Csikszentmihalyi. Yeah.
Be high, there we go.
Yeah.
It's part of it is like you got to find your right level of challenge. And so
Yeah.
when you find the perfect balance between your current skills and your challenge that's just outside of it,
Mhm.
you're able to click in a way that is so phenomenal. It feels incredible. Your muscles are burning, but it doesn't feel bad. You're totally
Mhm.
focused on the moment. Time sort of shifts. It's these moments where you land that bar routine and you go, "Whoa, did I just do that?" It's like
Mhm.
you're in so much control in these little micro moments. For swimmers I work with, it's like they'll click in and out of it and they'll
Mhm.
just be like pulling more water than they've ever pulled. And everything's just like every moment of training just emerges in these moments of flow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in order to get into that, which is sort of how we get hooked on sports, I think, is that you get that next challenge and you stretch yourself and you get it. And you're like, whoa,
Mhm.
that was amazing. Like if it's
Yeah.
my little 5-year-old learning to ice skate at winter. Like I'm
Mhm.
like, could you go all the way to the wall without touching, like without my hand? And then she makes it and she feels incredible. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, next challenge, next challenge. And when you've got a challenge that's too big, you get hopeless. Or if your
Yeah.
challenge is too small, you get bored.
Yeah.
So finding the right level of challenge, which for you might have been like, let's just continue mastering skills without this artificial competition schedule
Mhm.
pressure.
Mhm. Mhm.
And for me, it might have been similar, whereas I like would need that fire under my butt to like, okay, get up and try it. So I
Mhm.
would need deadlines, knowing
Mhm.
myself. So everybody has a different formula
Right.
for
Right.
unlocking flow that comes from this balance of the just the right level of challenge
Yeah.
that you can't rely on coaches to give you because they're not inside your brain.
Right. Right.
I mean, a phenomenal coach you've been with for 10 years, maybe,
Right.
but on a day by day, I think we have to empower athletes to actually find their own sweet spot that might be
Mhm.
less than what coaches are asking them for or
Mhm.
more, depending
Mhm.
on the situation. And once you can find, like you said, find your voice, And then you can
Yeah.
find your sweet spot because then you can really take ownership of challenging yourself. I'm
Mhm.
guessing as an adult athlete that's what keeps you going. I mean,
Yeah, it's it's all about what keeps me going. There has to be like the kind of safe parent that's like, oh, it's okay, like just, take your time. And then there's the other side of it. It's like, nope, nope, like this is the time to push yourself. But I did want to return to something that you mentioned too, of this image of your kid learning to skate, right? And we're really talking about expanding your like channel of competence, I'll
mhm.
call it. So the moment you start to skirt that line of anxiety or nervousness or right on the edge of your comfort zone where the challenge is pretty high and your skill is getting there, right? The moment that that's done, that little anxious, provoking space is done, boom, your nervous system is settled by hugging her,
Mm.
by the wall being there, right? So your daughter gets to learn, oh, when I push myself, I then have a safe place. I push myself and I calm down. I push myself and I calm down. And every time that happens, the channel gets bigger, right? The comfort zone gets bigger because she's like, oh, if I skirt that line, I have a safe place. Right. But
Mhm.
then as adults, we need to figure out, how do I give that to myself when mom's not there to embrace me once I hit the wall, if I fall or if I didn't fall. But how do I get off of a climb and do what I need to do to kind of shower myself in that same neurological wash of oxytocin, serotonin, anything calming,
Yes.
um, to bring me back to baseline? Maybe that's hugging my belayer, right? Maybe that's physical contact. Maybe it's just closing my eyes and letting my chest kind of cave in for a second to uh, let my body know that it's safe, right? But every time I push myself, anyone pushes themselves a bit out of their comfort zone, we need to come back to baseline.
Mm. You see it in college gymnastics with that
Mm-hmm.
rush of hug after that
Yes,
step bar routine.
exactly,
Like, that's what
exactly.
we need is that, like,
Mm-hmm.
big old hug rush
Mm-hmm.
after you do a scary thing. And
Yep.
I think going back to the mom in the car, that's why you don't debrief in the car, because they do not need to go back into that heightened
Mm-hmm.
state of thinking about the thing, and they actually
Yeah.
need you to be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. It was so fun to watch you. Here's your food. Let's listen to music.
Yeah.
Let's get your nervous system to baseline."
Yeah.
That's the most important thing you can do for your kid after practice, is
Yeah.
to help them return to baseline.
Yeah.
And it's hard because you're like, "But I've been a wad of nerve and I need my hug and I need all my
Yeah.
information. I'm paying a lot and I'm driving." It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
but you have to just be the soft place to land
Mm-hmm.
so that then they can go and do it again.
Yep.
And it's so hard. Parenting is so hard.
Yeah, it's so hard because then there's the element of, well, you need to figure out how to settle your own nervous system after watching your kid and helping them settle their nervous system, right? It's just this collective communal, we're all just resetting like
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, but it's true. And that's why self-care. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
anytime I have someone in the Perform Happy Parents group who's like, I need to vent, at some point I'm going to sneak in like, and what are you doing for yourself?
Right, right.
Because you can't pour from an empty cup. And if you haven't found your soft place to land between those,
Mm-hmm.
adrenaline spikes of parenting,
Yeah,
then you aren't able to regulate and then you're not able to help them. And then you become the yelling person in my experience,
right, right, right.
which
And
just
we don't
doesn't
want,
help anybody.
we don't, nope. We don't need
Nobody
that.
nobody loves the yelling person in my house, I can tell you I don't love her, but she's here when mom hasn't got enough sleep or
Mm-hmm.
got enough hugs or
Yeah.
any of those
Touch.
essential
Yeah.
things. Yep. Yep. That's why doggies are so important. Everyone should have a
Yeah.
dog from
Any
my
kind of
perspective.
heartbeat to
Right?
calm us
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
Well, so cool. So fun to talk with you about all these things. I mean, we could talk forever. I would
Yeah.
love for you to kind of give one little like biggest piece of advice for an athlete out there who, feels this need to push their boundaries, kind of like you, like I
Mm,
really want to get the big thing. I want to get out of my fear. I
yeah.
just want to push it. Like, what's your
Yeah.
piece of advice for the best way to physically set yourself up to do that?
Yeah. Um, you know, it I think of the cliche like affirmations, like I can do this. I can do this. But where affirmations fall flat is that sometimes we don't believe them, right? Because they aren't true for us, right? So let's say when I'm on the wall, I'm not telling myself, I'm a good rock climber. I got this. I know what I'm doing because I don't believe any of those things, right? Like I'm new to the sport. I'm 30 years old. I'm an adult re-athleting. Those things aren't true for me, right? So I can't just say them to myself till I'm blue in the face, but I need to say to myself something that's true. And it might be less relevant to the actual sport itself specifically. So whether you're a gymnast or a climber or an adult, a kid, right? Start with what's true. So for me on the wall, what's true is I'm strong and I'm safe. Right? Like I'm hooked in. I'm strong and I'm safe the whole time. Actually, that has nothing to do with climbing, right? That's just the true things that I believe about myself. So I would tell anyone listening is just to find one or two things that is true for you, right? Like I trust myself. I'm strong. I can trust my training. I trust my coaches, right?
Or
Just find
even I've
something.
done this before,
I've done this before.
if it's a
Yeah,
fact that you can't argue with, it's a good one to kind of latch on
right.
to.
Turn to a fact.
Mm,
Feelings change, but facts not so much.
mhm. Yeah,
And just
I've done this
allow that to be
before.
your fuel. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's a great strategy for anyone who struggles with being positive is
Hmm.
don't try to go all the way positive. You gotta go through neutral.
Yeah.
And once you can master neutral, at least that's gonna pull you out of that, "Oh, no, what if?" to, "Well,
Yeah.
my feet are on the beam.
Yeah.
The mat is blue.
Yeah.
I am breathing." Like,
Hmm.
anything neutral is gonna be a much better
Hmm.
place to hang out than,
Hmm.
"Oh, no, what if?"
Yeah.
And then from there, you can kind of build that muscle of, "And you know what? I'm kind of awesome. And look, remember what
Yeah.
I did yesterday? That was great." And it's still
Yeah.
kind of rooted in facts instead of trying to get your brain to be like, "I'm the best," which then you just have that internal battle
You're like,
over.
but I'm not. You're like, but I am. You're like, no, let's just start with what's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love the ABC. They're like, "Okay, I'm having a fear thought or I'm having a fear feeling. It's not I am scared. It's I am accepting this experience that I'm
Mm-hmm.
having. But I'm gonna put all my focus into these, one or two things
Hmm.
that I'm just gonna do
Hmm.
because I love it and
Yeah.
I wanna do great at this meet, or
Yeah.
because it's fun for me, because I really love the feeling of getting a new skill, whatever
Hmm.
that why
Hmm.
is. I think that's such a great little tool people can take with them. So, Sam, thank you so much for hanging out with me.
You. Thank you so much for the great questions and chance to share a little bit more of my story.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to hang out with Sam a little more, she is coaching our Monday night group in Perform Happy right now. She's also working one-on-one. So I'm going to link to the free consultation link if anybody wants to get to know her and see if she's a good fit to work with you or your athlete. Thank you so much for being here today.
You're so welcome. Thank you.